Hello, everyone. Welcome to the November edition of Coffee with the Councilors. This is my my second to last one. Penultimate. I can't get my tongue around my teeth today. So this will be next month will be my last Coffee with the Councilors, and then I'm not sure what happens. So that'll be up to the council, the new council. So
it must continue, don't you think?
definitely. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, welcome today. I will go around as usual, go around to the audience and ask them what they would like to talk about, and then go up to the Zoom folks and ask them what they would like to talk about, and then we will talk. Today, Gary Hayes is joining me. Lisa had another appointment this morning, so she couldn't make it. But Gary has kindly said that he will join me, even though he says Monday is not a good day for him.
It's true.
So thank you for doing that.
It's a good day for us.
A pleasure to be here anyway.
And of course, we have Bruce, our city manager, and Daniel is approaching he is our code enforcement officer. And we have all kinds of people in here today. Interesting. This could be interesting. All right, so let's go around the room and see what we'd like to talk about. Diane, what would you like to say? Okay, and Rex?
Well, I'm here for Nancy McCarthy Appreciation Day.
Oh, no.
Maybe you could tell us a little about yourself today.
I think we should take some time for that as well.
Yeah.
I think we could do that maybe next month. We have a lot to talk about today, probably. Lois, what would you like to talk
All
about?
the proverbial wall issues.
Okay,
Getting an update.
okay. And Jan?
So a bridge update and also a mall update, and maybe other things later.
Okay, good. And I'm not sure I know your name.
Ian.
Huh?
Ian.
Ian. Okay, well, Ian, what would you like to talk about today?
Well, I'm mostly here to listen.
Okay.
I have a lot of curiosity around, I don't know where it's at now, but the whole transportation plan.
Oh, okay,
But, I'm mostly here to listen right now.
okay. All right. Deanna, what would you like to talk about today?
Great. Well, I am here to listen, but I also, the bakery has started a campaign that I'd like to tell everybody about for the holidays.
Okay. Lolly, what would you like to talk about today?
I just like to hear where you think the council's going after the vote on the school.
Okay. Kyle.
I'm just here to listen.
Okay. And Eric.
Yeah.
What would you like to talk about? Just listening, okay. And Sam.
Here to listen, but I'm also available to answer questions on how to move forward if needed.
Okay. And I'm so sorry about your parents. Yeah. I think the entire community is grieving that loss. So I do accept our condolences, please. Oh, they were wonderful. Betty, what would you like to talk about today?
I might chime in.
But you're here to listen, or so you're muted right now.
You're muted.
Yeah,
You're not, sorry.
I'm just going to listen until if something comes up that I want to talk about, I'll talk. Thank you.
Okay, great. Ginny, what would you like to talk about today?
I don't really have anything either, although I'd like an update on Gary's book. Where in the process is that?
That's exciting.
Betsy, do you have anything?
Just listening today, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna have a quiet session today. Let's see. What would you like to talk about today?
You're muted, Watt.
You're muted.
Okay, unmuted. Mostly just to listen. Also, though, I could provide an uplifting report on the gathering our celebration of Native American heritage that happened weekend before last. And so I could drop that in as an up note if it's appropriate at some point.
Okay, let's see if we have the time to do that. That would be great. It was very well attended. Anita, what would you like to talk about?
Good morning, everyone. I might want to touch a little bit on kindness and respect.
Okay. All right. Dale, what would you like to talk about today?
Good morning. I just was sitting at my desk with a bunch of paperwork to do, and so I thought I'd listen in while I was shuffling papers and see what folks were talking about. That's it for me. Everything's good.
Okay, great. And Randy, what would you like to talk about today? Randy, you are muted. No. Okay, well, we'll give Randy a chance later on. Maybe he's away from the desk for a minute. So, okay, let's get started.
I'm just listening. You missed me.
What's that?
I said you missed me, Craig Tulip.
Oh, Craig, I'm sorry. Yes, you were one of the first on too. What would you like to talk about?
First off, I'm going between systems. Hopefully this one works. I think it was already mentioned, but my big question is, Nakus, what happens going forward since it was resoundingly defeated and we have two new members coming to the city council, and if I'm not mistaken, there were no votes on that. So I'd kind of like to have that sorted out. What's the next steps on that?
Okay, all right. And Lucinda, what would you like to talk about? You are muted. Okay, well, Lucinda and Randy, we will get back to you later on.
Randy just said he was listening. He did jump on.
Oh, here comes, I see Randy's unmuted now.
Yeah, I'm just listening.
Okay. What was that, Rusty?
That's what I was just mentioning. He had tried to jump on earlier. So I think that he just said he was just listening.
Okay.
Which he confirmed.
All right, well, okay, we have a lot of people here. Let's get an update on the wall.
So I got a notice put on my desk this morning. Maybe it came in over the weekend, which is posted, but said court got scheduled out months out. So I'm not sure the exact date right now, but I can send you an email, Lois, if you want to know that date.
That would be great.
Yeah, but it's definitely after next copy of the counselor, so
Okay.
I can also give an update then.
All right.
Do you know why?
No. I just got a letter saying that the court granted a rescheduling, so.
Okay, can you tell us who the attorney is that's going to be representing the city?
I'm not sure about that right now. I'm gonna be.
Would Bruce know?
Do you know who the,
I think there's two. One is Bill Kabizman. And the other is our normal prosecutor and Flukinger.
Oh, Ashley?
Yes. They're working together on it.
There are two different Ashleys.
Right, but Ashley Driscoll is our normal city attorney.
Yeah.
Ashley Flukinger is the prosecutor for the court.
The other attorney doesn't prosecute?
No.
Driscoll,
No.
Ashley Driscoll?
She has represented us before, but that's not her specialty.
Okay. And can you spell the name of the other Ashley?
I'll do my best. Lukenger.
Okay, thank you.
all right, we have Karen. Can you give us an update on the bridge?
Yes, the surveyors were working on the survey information on the bridge in preparation of a drilling they're gonna be doing between the 2nd and the 6th of December. So I don't imagine we will have any updates until after that drilling is done. And the updates will be done in our Public Works Committee meeting, which is the 3rd Tuesday of every month. So tomorrow we'll have a meeting, but there won't be an update until the coring is done.
Thank you.
Jan, do you have any questions about that?
Not now. Thank you so
Will the
much.
bridge be closed while they do that work?
One lane of the bridge will be closed. There will be flaggers out there, but traffic will be allowed to go through. So
Okay.
if anything changes, we will send out a notification in Facebook and website, and I'll have the PD just put out a nixle to let folks know, but we don't believe that the bridge will have to be closed at all according to the guys that are doing the drilling.
Do you know how long that will go on?
Yes, the 2nd of December through the 6th of December. So that week, that will be happening on and off during that week. And again, all updates will be given at the Public Works Committee meeting each month. So that's where you can get the project information. It won't be done through the coffee with the counselor.
Great. Okay, good. Ian, you had a question about the transportation plan?
Oh, I was reading it up on the internet. I don't even know if I had the last version or not. I was just curious to know where it was at.
Okay.
Ian, you own a business in town?
I do.
And what is that?
The bicycle shop.
Oh, okay.
So we've mentioned Ian before in our meetings and in our discussions about e-bikes, and I have mentioned that I think he would be a great resource in that, but also in consideration of trails in the future. I think he's going to be a real advocate for those kinds of things. So is there anything you wanted to say about those things?
Well, my interest in this, of course, I have a business in that industry, but it's not really about the business. The business was more like the wake up call. I've always liked biking. I've always liked alternative transportation, and I will use it as much as I can. And this summer, as I was working in the shop, I had a lot of clients come in and ask me about transportation in Cannon Beach. Some of them were more irritated than others, and they didn't understand why it was the way it was. And so I realized, let's dig into it. So that's how I kind of got interested in this particular problem.
Well, we do have a completed transportation plan and various recommendations in terms of how easily they are to put into place and how difficult they are, and also how much they cost, whether it's going to be an easy cost or a harder cost. And that's in place. Bruce, would you like to talk about that a little?
Well, a lot of this, yes, sir. A lot of this will be involved with the council forwarding particular projects, and it can happen as a result of individuals coming to a meeting and saying, hey, I'd like to see something to happen on the S-curves or whatever the project is. And then there'll be discussion about financing and other issues related to the project. But the plan is done, but the plan doesn't have a required schedule within it.
When you mentioned, I don't want to dig into I don't want to get too complicated, but you mentioned financing. Is financing around these kinds of plans? Is this something that can come through grants or different components of it can be grants?
It's possible, yes.
A lot of the reason that we created the plan was so that we would have something in place in case of grants coming through. So we have something ready to go. We can display, we can apply for a grant because we have something and that we've studied it and we know what we want to do. But any project that we take out of that plan to do, we'll have to do some more study as well as public hearings on it as well. So it won't be just done without public hearing and public input.
Another layer to that is we've had a lot of discussion as a council the last year plus about our tourism and arts fund and potential uses for those. And currently revenues for that come in at a little over 500,000 a year. And we have awarded 250,000 in grants. And we've talked about how those funds can be used and the potential of using those funds that would be qualifying under the law. Certainly parks and trails are among those things, as long as it's something that will be substantially used by visitors and real property that's improved.
It has a 10-year
So-
lifespan.
With a 10-year lifespan. So, I mean, some of those things would fit under trails. And so I hope you'll stay part of those conversations because they're really in the beginning stages of how that process might work and how we propose projects that are going to be funded by that.
Great. By the way, and I'm happy to share also, because I've been in contact with other bike facilities across the United States to discuss challenges with rental, challenges with transportation. And so I'm in contact with other stores in other cities that are trying to work on solutions with or without the city in some cases. So I'm seeing different models there,
Great.
hearing about them.
Good. Randy, you have your hand up. You want to talk?
Yeah, I was just going to mention to Ian that I've spent some time looking into the transportation plan and could like to meet up and compare notes. And I'm also a biker.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see. Anita, you wanted to talk about kindness and respect.
Well, potentially, I think it might be worth addressing that, that's something that is asked of all people coming to a meeting, whether through Zoom or in person, to be kindful and respectful. And sometimes I'm not sure that carries over to the council members. And I just hope that maybe with some new council members coming on board, that'll be something that is thought about and in a way to unite the community. As I keep hearing, there's division and there's just some really nasty comments that get made about some of our community members that I feel are uncalled for and unjustified. And I hope that a new council and with the vote that there'll be a new look at the way that Cannon Beach is going forward. Is all I would have to say right now. I totally respect the council and all the work, staff, and that you are involved in. So I just say that just as a comment of observation.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I would hope that's going to go both ways too,
Yeah.
because we've certainly heard a lot of divisiveness about council and decisions. We've heard a lot of accusations about city staff. So I agree that's important.
Mhm.
Important that we look at, and it should be both directions.
Deanna, you had a question?
Yeah, I'd like to expand on what Anita said a little bit, and I think that as a general rule, if we look at our country as a whole right now, there are 1,400-ish people that live in Cannon Beach, and we all need to come together. We're gonna need each other. I have a feel we're gonna need our community. We're gonna need to lean on each other, and I think it's very important that we smile at one another. Sometimes just a smile helps deflate some of the emotions. It's been a very emotional couple of years for all of us, both sides. I'm not saying that, I don't want it to be one-sided. We need to find that balance among ourselves. And I think that we can all do that and we can all find a common ground.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I think the rest of the, other than everybody listening, I think the rest is about the school. We aren't going to get into any real answers about the school today because we're just two city councilors. So what kinds of questions do you have about the school?
Can I
Deanna?
say something really quick before we get into that?
Sure.
So the bakery is doing misfit mugs for meals. And I got a shipment of mugs that came in that are, the logo's right, but it's printed in the wrong place. It's kind of looking in the wrong direction. We're selling them for $5. They're great stocking stuffers. All of the proceeds are gonna go to the food bank. So we're thinking it'll be around $750. We kicked off the campaign this week and we've already sold 50 of them. So it's going along. So they're first come, first serve. So if anybody wants a stocking stuffer or something to do something good for the community, please come into the bakery and see us.
Okay, great.
Should we give Watt a chance to talk about his celebration before we?
Who?
Watt.
Oh,
You
oh,
mentioned
yeah,
that.
sure.
No.
Yeah.
Has his hand up too.
Okay. Let's ask Craig what he wanted to talk about and then we'll go to Watt. Craig? You're muted.
Okay, I'm good now. No, I wanted to just talk about the school and you want to get to that. The gentleman who wanted to talk first wants to go ahead and talk. That's fine, but I'll wait till he's done. Then questions I have about the NACUS.
Okay, great. What would you like to talk about the gathering?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nancy and Gary. It was a really uplifting event. For a lot of folks who came up and said it was, what the doctor ordered in the wake of a very divisive, intense election on many levels. And there was a spirit of togetherness, a spirit of unity, not just with Cannon Beach, but I would say the coast as a whole. A lot of people came up from North Tillamook. A lot of folks came down from Astoria, Cannon Beach. It affirmed our role as a midway meeting place along the North Coast. And there were, just all of the nonprofit local community groups utilizing our wonderful existing venues. This year I was blown away by the library. Big shout out to the library volunteers. I've known this for years, but when you get involved with something and then you actually have an opportunity to work more closely with folks, it affirms those relationships. And the sessions that were at the library were live streamed and I presume recorded, so there should be links. I think that'll be, if they're not already there, I assume they'll be going online if you weren't able to come to those. Big shout out to the Tullahvana Arts Colony and Andrew Tonry. The concert on Friday was amazing. And I want to say this year we did have a lot more participation from the area tribes, Grand Ronde, Siletz, Chinook, and good dialogue with Clatsop Nehalem. They weren't able to participate this year, but had some good exchanges with them from August on that I think that will be teed up for greater participation there next year as well. The one thing, kind of going back to what Deanna said, there were a lot of people don't realize when we say Native American, we are also, I believe, it's very important to include indigenous people of the Americas, plural, and that includes people south of the US-Mexican border, many of whom do have family members who work in Cannon Beach and are a vital part of our community. And this year, the concert on Friday night featured someone of indigenous descent with a tribe that is on the US-Mexican border that has been there much longer than the border. And so folks who attended were treated to some amazing music by Ray Zaragoza. And our opening prayer was offered by a DACA immigrant of Purepecha descent who was actually a classmate of our oldest daughter. She did an amazing job. And and so there are opportunities that we have to show leadership as a community that I believe can cut through some of the negative, hard, intense news in the world. And yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about it. I appreciate everybody that turned out. It was a good turnout. And thank you.
Yeah, I know we had a huge turnout at the library for both of the presentations. So it was
Yeah, I think there's some really healing to do there, particularly on the, and I'm talking about as a community, particularly on the part of the Clatsop Nehalem people who, this election school vote, after all of their participation in it and what they saw from the community, there's some real concerns there as far as how they're perceived, and obviously they're disappointed, and so I think we need to pay attention to some of that healing as well.
Could you be specific about what we should search for if we go online and try to find these sessions and the concert?
The library, well, I don't know about the concert, but the library recorded both of the sessions that we had. There was a session in the morning that was two people talking about fire, how fire can help develop natural resources. And then there was an author that spoke in the afternoon, Cliff Taylor. And both of those, you can go to the library website, and those should have been recorded. I know that they were recorded. I think they're probably on the website by now. And just go to the library website, I think probably under the tab of events.
So that would be the sessions at the library. Were there other things going on? And what was the main name of the event, I guess is what I was looking for.
What would you like to answer that? I don't know if the concert was recorded or not. You're muted.
There's no central link to recordings for the concert or the History Center that I know of, or the chamber, the events that occurred there. There's been a number of social media posts of people that have either recorded or took photographs. This is the second annual gathering, is what we're calling it, which is appropriate. Cannon Beach being a gathering place, yeah, as we're learning as we go along. It's a mostly all volunteer effort. Certainly it is on my part. And so hopefully next year there'll be a lot more of opportunity for recorded links so that people can see what happened afterwards too.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, well, let's move on to discussion about the school. I know Craig had some questions. Other people had some questions. Gary, would you like to say something about it first? I like to put you on the spot.
Oh, I'd like to say a lot about it, but I would like to hear the questions.
Okay.
Greg also had some very specific questions, and I've made some notes. But why don't we hear the questions and then
Okay. Well, Craig, why don't we start with you, since we started with you earlier? So what would you like to ask?
I'm just really trying to educate myself. I mean, I know that I see the vote as very much a resounding no vote. I personally was a yes vote, but I'm not advocating any particular course of action or position? I know there's two, I believe two of the new counselors are in the audience and they were no for downscaling. So I'm not really expecting any detailed answers as to specific courses of action. If facts are correct, we've sunk 6.4 million into this project already, 2 million buying and 4.4 million in bonds, if those are the correct numbers. So I'm just kind of curious, when's this get taken up? What really is the process in the road ahead and kind of the options to be considered? Again, I don't expect an answer with this meeting with just two counselors and two prospective counselors, but I'm just trying to educate myself because I was surprised when I came back into town to see the boondoggle signs up when I thought this was a done deal from the October 2023 meeting. So I'm just trying to educate myself and understand the process for the way ahead.
Okay, and I think Lolly, you had some questions about the school?
No, I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were. My only thing was in looking at the vote and working hard to get the no vote is that people want the school, but they want it under cost reduction. And so it seems like if it was a kitchen table issue, like all of us face with building a house or buying a car, put an amount and then build to that amount. And I was just wondering, would that possibly be the process that you decide on a most amount and then make the project work within those figures? Because that's how most of us do our financials and do businesses also, is figure out what we can spend and then make the project work from that. And I just wondered if that will be the assumption that we might think the council will take. And also the exact figure that we have spent, I'm a little unclear on because I know as it was pointed out, I believe we still have about a $2 million balance, but I'm not sure about that. So I would like to know that figure too, please. Thank you.
And then Greg Swedenberg sent us an email. He couldn't make it today, but he said, like most, the question is what is the plan for CBE? Specifically, what would it take and when would it be possible that the gym is open and available for community use? Has the 4 million, he has a question mark, been invested so far? And what is the condition of the gym? In my opinion, providing the community with some form of indoor activity space should be a top priority in the repurposing of this space. Otherwise, plow it and make it a park. Regards, Greg Swedenberg. Did you want to comment on that?
I made a few notes on that to answer some of Greg's questions, I think, but I wanted to talk about the vote. So obviously I was very disappointed in it. I thought that this would only be something that would be of benefit to our community. I think a lot of people didn't understand what it was. They've heard high-end tourist facility. They've heard it's going to attract a whole bunch of people to town. And I think the value of it was certainly the other aspects of it, the potential for a cultural center to honor the native people who lived on that site, to do a nature center that would promote stewardship of our environment. And honestly, I think the no vote puts in danger all of that. When you look at the vote, 40% of the people voted for the plan that went through the public process, and it was a specific plan. The 60% that voted no, some of them just want to plow it under. It's in a tsunami zone. We shouldn't do anything with it. Some don't think it fits with the village character, which I find interesting since the buildings have been there for nearly 70 years. I think that's longer than most of us have been here. And the only change to the footprint was the lobby entryway, which was 1,200 square feet. You know, and then I heard that described as the Tillamook Cheese Factory. Apparently because of the lobby entry, or even worse, I've heard it described as, you know, the casino,
Yeah.
which I just thought, you know, if you want to talk about kindness and respect, I think that fails that mark. Other people, as Lolly pointed out, just wanted to cut the costs, although how and where? Do we cut the park improvements? Do we decide not to save one of the buildings? You know, there's a possibility we could just do the bare minimum, the seismic improvements that would allow the public to come in. And then great, we could probably spend $8 million and have essentially the same eyesore that we have now.
But
we could open the door.
Yeah, but it's more than seismic improvements. We have plumbing that needs to be replaced. We have electricity that needs to be replaced. We have some leakage that's going on still. So it's more than seismic.
Yes, it
Much
is.
more than seismic.
So I guess the vote puts us back to 0. And anything has to start with a public process again. So where we had gotten to the point in the public process 4 years into the public process. And so I guess we're starting over at year 1 on what may be another long public process. But I'm sure we'll all agree on what that solution, the correct solution is, and that it will cost less. Actually, I don't believe either of
I
those
think you're being,
things.
yes, I think you're being snide there.
I think whatever we do, if we decide to save both buildings, and it takes years, we're gonna be in it for over what we could have approved in this last vote. So Greg's questions, what would it take and when to open the gym? I think is kind of some of what I've just said. It's gonna go back to the public process, and again, this was a 4-year process, so I'm not sure it's gonna take that again.
Ask Bruce. Bruce, can you tell us what the condition of the gym is right now?
Yes. The roof is in poor shape. It is leaking. There's seismic work needs to be done on the roof. We need a new roof structure on it. There's no power, there's no water supply, and there's no sewer. And the gym floor has been taken up. Because it was made of cork and it had gotten wet, it had curled up, so it was not useful. And there's no, let me see, restrooms. There's nothing there that would meet code, so we have to make restrooms that are meeting code. And again, tightening up the waterproofing in the gym.
Thank you. That's a little, some more blanks that weren't, I was gonna mention the seismic, the roof, the floor, but the power, the water, the sewer, those are all additional things. I'll mention one more, the funding. You know, this was proposed as a tourism facility, meaning that it would have been open to the public as a cultural and nature center. And the gym would have been a bonus to that as far as community recreation. But I don't see a community recreation center qualifying for the tourism dollars. So I've heard talk that, well, if we want a recreation center, we should pay for a recreation center. So I don't know how many people are willing to raise their property taxes to save the gymnasium. But there again, we kind of get to that 40-60 split and coming to some kind of agreement. So I think those are the challenges as far as opening the gym. Greg also asked, where has the 4 million been invested so far? And what is the condition of the gym? I guess we've got that part of it, but I'll start off on where the 4 million has been spent and let Bruce again fill in with anything. Number one, we purchased the property. We've removed hazardous materials. We've either repaired or replaced the roof. We've removed the breezeway. I think a large part of the funding has gone to the public process. And I mean, obviously we were ready to break ground on this. So we've got complete architectural plans for the buildings and the park. The tribe was paid as a consultant on this, and they were very involved in every aspect of it. How many things have I missed?
Oh, you did a very good job on the list. Also, the classroom, when we did the roof in the classrooms, we also did the seismic work in the roof. There still has to be seismic work done on the walls. And then the seismic work, there's some seismic work has been done in the gym roof, but we still, when we do the close up and putting on a new surface on the roof, we'll be doing some more seismic work. And then in both buildings, there's the restrooms will need to be replaced and power brought to it. Water, wastewater, all have to be replaced. They're 70 years
$4
old.
million, an accurate number of what's been spent so far.
Well, 4 million
No,
for
it's more like 2 million.
And
We borrowed about 4.4, I think it was. And then we spent around 2.
Right.
They're in the 2s. And so there's about $1.5 million, 2 million in the original funding. And then we can take a look at, depending on what process we go through and what results we get, as far as how much might be required to finish.
And the city council has not discussed this yet at all as a full council. The election was only, what, 2 weeks away, 2 weeks ago, and we've only had 2 meetings since then, but I think we did discuss having a discussion before we have a retreat with the new councilors. So there probably will be some discussion about this as a full council sometime in December. I don't think that it's been scheduled yet, has it? No.
No.
Okay. Karen, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add, Bruce has hit on a lot of the major points as far as electrical and plumbing. But a lot of people have asked me, can they just use it in the interim of these more significant seismic improvements? It's just not safe for people to be in it in its current condition for the things that Bruce mentioned, but just the doors have been damaged because of vandalism and break-ins. So all those doors would have to be replaced just to meet fire code. So if there was a fire when the public was in it, they would have more than one way to escape the building. So the doors is an expense in itself, so that it's a safe environment for people to be in, and bathrooms at a minimum. There's no lighting. Even if you have power there, there's not sufficient lighting in there for anybody to do anything. So just the minimum things for it to be safe for the public is significant in itself.
Yeah, I would like to point out that in 2010, the city building official suggested that the entire place be destroyed, just bulldozed, because there was so much work that needed to be done on it. And it was closed in 2013, and nothing has been done since other than what we just described here. So it's in bad shape, folks. It's in really bad shape.
Before we.
It's not
Just
even
on that
safe for
point.
the public works team to go in there and board things up when there's been vandalism. I mean, we get in and get out of there as quickly as possible.
Whatever we do there, I mean, between bulldozing it or, some people have proposed bulldozing it, starting over, do something smaller. We're dealing with a very archaeologically sensitive site. It is the site of a Native American village. There have been archaeological work done there. Anything we do, from bulldozing it to trying to start over, would take significant archaeological work. Again, kind of surveying it and seeing what we
have done a survey, but there would have to be more done. Yeah. Craig raised his hand first and got Sam and.
Ian was up
Ian.
too,
So Craig,
Betty has her hand up too.
Craig, would you like?
Thank you for the explanation. What I'm hearing, we're back to square one, starting over, which is basically why I was a yes vote. I think we're going to end up spending that amount of money anyway. But one thing I would throw out, again, I'm not advocating a position one way or another, but what I heard talking from people who voted no on that, walking around town, is parking. What is that going to do to parking? That's going to bring more people in here. There's no parking now. We're bringing more people in. I've heard the answer. The solution is not going to really affect parking, events being at night, so on and so forth. But that's what's in the foreground of people's minds. And one group, a couple I talked to when I was depositing my ballot, said we should just bulldoze it and make a parking lot out of it. And I understand the archaeological sensitivities that were just explained, but I would just, as we go forward, that project and parking are tied, and the proponents need to make sure they make the case that this isn't going to make our parking situation worse. Just throwing that out for consideration as we move forward, because that was not understood by people I talked to.
Okay. Betty?
Well, one of the things I was thinking about is we had 70 meetings, and the people that were coming to the meetings or even looked at it on Zoom, our input created the space, and also the tribe was very, very, very involved in this. Is all that going to be thrown out? You're saying we're going to start at ground zero. Why would anyone want to start over? Because why wouldn't we just get to the same place and no, the other people vote no? And I mean, it just feels like we went through a democratic process. We were all showing up, and now we're going to start over again. It's like all that's going to be thrown out. It doesn't make sense to me. So.
Hey, Sam?
I got a question, and I'll just make a comment on top of what Betty just said. No, you would not just start from ground zero. We have done a tremendous amount of work, but we haven't completed it. In a normal design process, there's always a dream, then you design for the dream, then you figure out how much it costs, then you dial back. This is where we start to dial back. So no, you don't start from zero. You use the information you have to help create something to a lesser cost factor, because that's what most folks were saying no. My question is also, isn't it correct that the structure of the old school is to be preserved according to our comprehensive plan?
Well, yeah, it does call in, but that again.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan calls for exactly what we were going to do with it.
But to preserve it, it's stated for the arts.
It does spell out to be used for all the purposes that we had planned on using it for.
Lois, did you have?
I'm just curious, it might be old news for some, but I'm not aware how, I heard her say we've got 1,500 roughly citizens in the town that could vote. How many people actually voted, and how many of those votes were no's? Can you share that?
Off the top of my head, there was, it was 370 to, no, it was was it 570 to 360 something. It was about 180 votes between the two.
I have
Deanna
the
probably has
numbers.
it.
Yeah, there's 1,180 voters in Cannon Beach, 397 voted yes, 586 voted no. So about half, a little more than half of the residents
Voted.
voted. 60% of the residents voted no. Okay. Yeah, so it was a large amount of people that did vote.
And again, some of them are plow it under people. Some of them are, it does not fit with village character, which I don't know how you solve that. A lot of them were this whole concept of dialing back. So to me, what we have to come back to is, how do we dial back? What does that mean? Does that mean we don't save one of the buildings? Does that mean we just bring it seismically up to code and call it good? Do we not do the park? There are places where we can cut $100,000. But go ahead, Sam, you want to talk?
No, well, wait a minute. Ian had his hand up, so would you want to say something?
Yeah, two questions. How long has this project been going on for? Like,
For at least 4 years.
4 years?
And before that, the purchase of the school started, the council started considering the purchase of the school in 2013 when it was closed by the school district, but the school district wanted $1 million for it, and the council said, "Are you kidding?" And so negotiations went on and off for about, 6 years or so, and then this council purchased it, or the city purchased it, and that's when we started planning. So it's been about 4 years.
I guess the other question, and it's not so much for me, but it's just, it seems to be a theme that's coming back a lot. And I'm just talking, I come from another place where I was, we had a similar scenario with two projects. And some people talk, let's just bulldoze. I'm just curious, has anybody calculated the cost of disposing of the building?
It's been discussed, it's about $1 million to actually bulldoze the building, yeah.
Which would hurt. I mean, I'd hate to give up on the vision of a cultural center and nature center. I think those are things that would have been very beneficial to the community. But at this point, it's something I feel like has to be part of the conversation. I can see a gorgeous park there. And maybe that's where we'll end up.
I'm not suggesting it, by the way. It's just that some people were mentioning this as if it was like the easy solution.
Yeah, no, it would cost at least.
In my experience, these bulldoze jobs are more expensive than we think.
Yeah.
I think just everybody's got different ideas of what it means to dial back and where to save money. And I would be very surprised if we found 40% consensus on any of those.
How do the tribes feel about it?
Say it again.
How do the tribes feel about it?
The tribes are offended. The tribe is offended. They feel betrayed by some members of the community who have positioned themselves as their advocates. They were offended that some people are trying to tell them what honors them when they were involved in the process every step of the way. And now they're very sensitive about the community because they want to be viewed and respected in the community, not be a point of division. So it's a sad position with the tribe right now.
We have to wrap this up pretty soon because we have some other things going on in the city hall within the next 20 minutes or so. So Randy, you wanted to comment?
Yes, I'd just like all the counselors and prospective counselors and anybody else who's interested to go over and check out the North Coast Land Conservancy new building that just opened up a couple weeks ago. Betsy, it looked great. Thanks.
Okay, and then Sam, did you want to say something?
I suppose my arguments are more in tune with the full council is sitting, but design needs to have an operational plan before you can consider the structure. So we never did that. We never really, as a community, discussed what the operational plan was going to be so that we could then evolve what was asked for in the informational gathering compared to how it was going to actually work. That's the design process. Never happened. I tried. We had our management team, never quite got there. So that's part of the design process. It needs to continue so that we can understand what dialing it back is. Because in my sense, all of the goals, heritage, education, arts, and environment can be easily handled within the structure we have or less.
Deanna?
Two things. CETA came back at one point with 4 options of cost. And those were visited on the screen for about that long. And then they weren't visited again. And we just went to the $12.5 million price tag. So I have some questions on that, and that's a question probably for a later time, but it's something to put in your minds. Why was that, and why now is this not an option, but it was. Also, I think that, you know, we're talking about here today. I'm hearing Councilor Hayes saying it's not possible. This is going to take forever. I understand. I think if we get a group of open-minded, peaceful individuals who can come together and have a conversation, both sides, and look at things, present them to the community in more than one way. As long as we can come together, we can make this go forward, and we can make it go forward quickly. Because then you have both sides saying, let's do this. So I think that is a good result for this issue.
I don't know, we've had a lot of pushback.
As far as the tribes, yeah. I feel very badly that they feel ostracized in some way. That was not the intention at all. For me, I know it didn't come down to the project, it came down to the cost. And I think that we can absolutely include the tribe. It's important. I mean, it can't happen without that inclusion because it wouldn't make the space what it was initially kind of intended for in several different ways. So I think that I agree with Gary, there is some healing that needs to be done there, but I think that can be achieved, maybe not easily, but it could definitely be achieved. Trust, I think, could be built rather quickly.
Okay, we have one comment from Jenny, and then I'm going to have to wrap it up. Jenny?
And mine's not about the school. Good news. I was just going to say, somebody was commenting like the city council's a done deal, and I don't actually think it is. I think that it's still 2 more weeks till the final results are in. I think there might be an update this Wednesday and the next Wednesday. And with a race this close, there's probably going to be an automatic recount, I would assume. So it's not a done deal yet.
Lolly, this is the last comment.
I would just like to point out that another thing that I found out going through the door, speaking to people, is the size of that money that we do borrow to finish the project and the terms for 30 years is a concern when we look at the ongoing concerns about how our coastline is going to change and what that property will even be like in, say, 15 years from now, to invest a lot of money into it at an uncertain time with we don't know how that's going to go, and putting that amount of money on a new generation was something else that people really objected to, that size of that commitment.
I think that's
30 years down the road.
I think that's part of the problem is you know, we've given, people have been given 10 reasons to vote no, and some of them are why you invest money in something that might change. So again, to get consensus, I think, is going to be a real challenge. And just to Deanna, one of the other pushbacks we got in trying to move the school forward, the whole NECUS project forward, was we're spending too much time on it, that we need to get on with other important things like affordable housing and parking. And so I think the politics are also going to be challenging in, okay, now we're going to regroup and get together. So that will be interesting to see how that moves forward.
Well, I know that the last council has been very challenged. And I think the next council will be as challenged or more so. So I guess this is one of those stay tuned kind of situations, and keep following us, keep adding your input, because we need to resolve this situation and we need to do it together. So we will have probably a conversation, the current council probably have a conversation. We really, as Ginny pointed out, we really don't know yet who's going to be on the new council, probably for another week or two, or possibly tomorrow we might know, or Wednesday we might know. But until then, continue to add your input, continue to work together, and we will resolve this eventually, one way or the other.
This is the last time we're gonna see you.
No, I'm here. Yeah, I get to
Next month.
punish you for another month. Another month. Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming. This is the end of the November edition of the Coffee with the Councilors. Thank you, Gary, for visiting. And we will see you next month. Bye all. Thank you.